For our invocation and pledge of allegiance, do we have Kevin?
Yeah. Everyone please rise. We're going to say our prayer first. Lord, we just thank you for this meeting, this time to get together within this community, that we can be neighbors, friends, and folks focused on the issues that need to be taken care of for our town, that we can do this agreeably and that we can do it with kindness and gentleness. Lord, we thank you for your great love for all of us, and we ask your blessing on this meeting today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. And let's face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before the approval of the agenda, I have some changes that need to be made. Our official update on the internet under old business number 4, we will address our internet committee in the February meeting. As for the resolution to form the TDA, Craig Justice will be reporting on that. The appointment of new TDA members, number 6, we will address that at our February meeting. With those changes, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve that agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Approval of the December 14th council meeting minutes. Motion to approve.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Presentation of financial and tax report from Kim Matheson. Oh, what do we?
We have, I sent the financial voucher when out with package. We did receive $72,000 from the Golden Lake grant this month, and we collected a little over $80,000 in taxes. I just got that report yesterday.
Okay, great. We have Shannon Dennison, our auditor, to report on the fiscal year 2022-23.
Shannon?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me here this evening, or I guess this afternoon, at your board meeting to present your 2023 audit. This is for year end June 30th, 2023. I'm pleased to announce you guys have an unmodified opinion on your financial statements. That's the best opinion that you can receive on an audit. So congratulations on the hard work that went into that, especially in relation to the fact that you guys went on to a new accounting software. That's a lot of work. I know a lot of work went into that. So excellent job on that. Your general fund has an unassigned fund balance of $400,550. Your capital reserve road fund had a fund balance of $20,029. That is a new fund for this year, for 2023, that was established to be able to keep track of funds that are reserved for road paving. Your general fund last year had about $418,000 in revenue, about $358,000 in expenses, and then there were a couple transfers and whatnot. So the change in your change in fund balance was $75,000 to the good. So you went from $333,000 to $408,000 in fund balance, which is positive direction. That basically means that you saved a little bit more than you spent, but nothing substantial. Pleased to announce, in looking and compared to your budget, you did not have any expenditures that exceeded budget, either for the town or the TDA. So that was good for the year. Everything that the town council approved, everything came within those budgeted limits. On the water fund, I did not mention the fund balance for that. We look at that a little bit different. We look at it from a cash basis. With your size, you're kind of able to look at everything from the cash balance in your bank account because it doesn't change too much. But from the town's cash on the water fund, you saved $3,401. So again, came very close to kind of spending exactly what was collected. You have $86,405 in the bank account from the book cash balance as of June 30th. The TDA collected $2,816 in residual funds kind of carry over at the beginning of last fiscal year. Spent $13,477,000. So ended spending, the change in fund balance was $10,661. So ending fund balance was $14,918 in the TDA. And everything was clean. The only note that we had this year is that the finance officer bond for the town was good for the year, but it did lapse for the TDA. The TDA finance officer has to have a separate bond from the town finance officer, despite the fact that it's the same person. There do have to be two separate bonds that were issued. So we do have a note in relation to that. As soon as it was discovered, I would say within just a couple of days, it was on top of very quickly to ensure that that was renewed, and that was in fact renewed before we issued the statements on November 9th. Does anybody have any questions in relation to the 2023 audit?
Thank you.
I do have a question on the 21-22 audit of the TDA. Statements have been made that there were indiscretions or problems with the TDA report. Will you please confirm from your report of last year that we did not have any problems with the finances of the TDA? Can you reconfirm that?
On the financial statements, I'm going to pull them up now. In relation to the TDA last year, we reissued the statements on the TDA in 2022, and just 100% sure. The only note that we had on last year's financial statements was that there was an over expenditure on capital outlay out of the town. So we did do a correction kind of once we done a little bit further with the TDA and worked with the state on a couple of things, and clarifying there was some vagueness around exactly some categories of funds. And that was really the difference in last year. So that did get reissued and corrected to not show on the statement.
And what you had mentioned about the capital funds, that was not the TDA, that was the town finances.
Correct. That had to do with the town hall renovation, I believe. was not on the TDA at all.
Thank you for clarifying that. Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Dennison.
I have one
Oh,
question.
okay.
What is the town total budget for 23-24?
The total expenditures,
The total, not expenses, the budget.
I don't have that up here. Let me see if I can.
That's okay, you can get it later.
23, 24, or 20?
It should be. Have you got one?
Yes,
You can
I do.
let it speak.
Yeah.
So, total revenues,
No.
and then the
What's the
total,
budget?
total expenses.
That's expenses, right?
No, that's the revenue.
The-
The revenues
Projected
should
revenue?
match the expenses on the
Yeah,
budget.
it's gonna
They're
be the same.
required to match
Right.
unless you're pulling funds out of fund balance, so your savings account.
Really fine. Okay, thank you.
What was it, just for clarification?
385, 280.
Thank you, Shannon, for working with us, and we look forward to working with you in June.
Absolutely, thank you so much. I look forward to continuing to work with you all.
Thank you.
Do we have our representative from Brookfield?
Yes,
Oh,
and you might want to come up so everyone can
Sure.
hear what you have to say.
Do we want to give him a chair, or do we want to give him a... There's a podium here if he needs it.
Oh, I don't know if I need that.
Can everybody see him over here?
Got a line, got a line, you're tangled.
Yep, so... Just read that.
Oh, let's put him up here so that people there's 23 people on Zoom.
Okay.
I think you may be the man of the hour, so I want everybody to know.
Seems like it.
We've been eagerly awaiting this.
Speak loud.
and your name?
Typically, we do this all, we don't have any internet.
Today.
Okay.
We usually...
Sure.
So you introduce him, Diana.
I didn't even have your name.
That's okay, I'm Chris Glover with Brookfield Renewable.
That's the lady.
Chris Glover.
Chris Glover, okay.
And as far as I know, I was here to answer questions. So if we have any questions,
Well, we
I
had
can prepare a speech.
for a report on dumping in the lake. I think
Sure.
there's been some problems with
Yeah.
landscaping.
So what's your position there at Brookfield?
I know we've had some comments about some of the landscaping companies that have been blowing their leaves and the grass clippings directly into the lake. And as far as Brookfield goes, that is, we have a shoreline management plan, which is directed by FERC, which is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And in that plan, it strictly prohibits blowing of leaves, grass clippings, or really discharging or dumping of any kind of vegetation into the lake directly on purpose.
So
Natural.
no trees or anything like that.
So yeah, I mean, natural occurrences, obviously that's
Different.
gonna have, yeah, it's different. But if you're,
We
If
can't
you're-
hear very well.
oh,
I'm sorry, but we don't have internet at the office, so this is coming through my phone, and this is all we have. So I can
Yeah,
try to get,
I'll try to speak up.
I'll try to get
Can you
close.
hear me now? Yeah.
So yeah, as far as the landscaping companies, if you're discharging your grass clippings or your leaves directly into the lake, that would be a violation of Brookfield standards. And yeah,
What is, if there is a violation, what does Brookfield do? What is enforcement? And what are penalties?
so I guess this is the big thing that my manager has been pushing lately is that Brookfield's kind of been in the back seat, not really taking much of a stance for a while. and he really wants to change that, so we're gonna start issuing fines.
You can issue a fine.
Yes, yeah.
What's the fine for that?
It's not specified in our shoreline management plan, but it is in there that we can issue fines, and it's basically to compensate our, the cost of trying to enforce these things.
Do you abide by the National Pollution Control System?
So that I'm not sure.
You mean the pollution?
How about the North Carolina Environmental Protection Agency?
Yeah, we work with them.
And I know you work with them, but do you, I guess, do you enforce any of their regulations?
We won't enforce their regulations, but if we think
Do
there's...
you have regulations on discharge control?
No, but if we think that there's a problem, we go to them and talk to them first.
You go to who?
We go to the DEQ.
To where?
The DEQ? Sorry.
Which is,
The
DEP.
No, the Department of Environmental Quality. North Carolina.
That's a national firm.
That's North Carolina.
That's North Carolina.
Yes.
Okay. That comes under, yeah. All right, thank you. Okay.
Well, with the lake level lower,
Yes.
a lot of the leaves that have just floated into the different coves.
Sure.
With the high waters this year, there's been a lot of debris that's just collected
Has it?
in the coves. Some people have been taking this time to burn the leaves
Okay.
at the water level.
Mhm.
I just wanted to clarify, is that okay with our
When you say
homeowners?
burning them at the water level. I mean,
Well, they're on the beach,
Shoreline.
Oh,
on
okay.
the shoreline. So they've been raking into piles and then
Okay. I see what you're
burning
saying.
them.
I'll have to double check to be sure with my manager, but as far as I can tell, I mean, we'd probably prefer that not to take place on shoreline.
Well,
I understand.
you can't really move the leaves up
Sure.
above
Mhm.
the shoreline. They're sitting where they're
Sure.
sitting.
I mean, we're with FERC, we're pretty highly regulated on controlling and managing the shoreline and making sure that we're not having erosion. So to me, a fire would could lead to erosion of the shoreline if it's taking place already.
So,
Chris, I had two questions for you. Number one, I know that FERC is a federal agency, but what's the official title? FE,
FERC,
which stands for
Federal Energy Regulatory Commission.
Federal Energy, okay. And then second question, I understand Brookfield is a Canadian company
Yes, the parent company.
operating in the United States,
Yes.
headquartered
In New York.
in where?
In New York.
Newark,
Yes.
Virginia?
New
No.
York.
New York.
Oh, New York, New York, I thought you said Newark.
Sorry.
Thank you. So if we need, do you have any materials if we need to get in touch with them about any issues or?
Sure, yeah,
questions?
my business card has the
Okay.
home agency, or the headquarters listed.
Once a tree naturally falls from someone's property on the lake, are they allowed to move it?
We request that you talk to us first, depending on where it's laying. So if the whole thing's in the lake, then we want you to talk to us first before moving it. Now, if it's laying on your property, if the root system is on your property and it's laying into the lake, to us, that's more of a, you can deal with it the way you want, but we still just want to be contacted.
Okay, to be properly disposed of, though, it would have to be pulled out of the lake, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Couple of things. The leaves are a big issue, and I just spent $500 to have them raked up because we have a beach right now,
Okay.
and they're wet, so getting them to burn is a challenge,
Sure.
but they do burn, and so that's a priority, I guess, but it seems to me that the real issue on the lake is the silt that's coming in certain fingers when you drive across the bridge towards downtown.
Okay.
If you see it today, for instance, that water will be brown
Yeah.
with mud coming down through the various creeks and whatever they go into it. And I bet if somebody really checked the depth of silt it would be a foot or two in some of those areas, which chokes off the natural vegetation. So what are you doing about that to require developers to put silt barriers, to try to build some structures where those creeks come in to catch that mud? Because long-term, that mud is very dangerous to the health of the lake.
Sure. Yeah.
So what is Brookfield doing about that?
Yeah, I mean, we try to work with DEQ, seems to take care of most of the permits related to silt fences. I mean, we've contacted a couple people here in the last year that we found were building houses with no silt fences. And it was kind of like, hey, what are you doing? I guess it's not really in our wheelhouse to regulate or...
I can answer this question. I can answer your question.
Yeah.
National Environmental Discharge and Erosion Control is a program regulated by the national government. The North Carolina Department of Environmental Protection also abides by those codes, which require a permit for any discharge from site work or construction that occupies an acre or more. In other words, there are specific ways to prevent erosion, thousands of them, as a matter of fact. But in those cases, for developers, they are required to have a permit, and they are required to put those barriers up. Now, you've seen them out on the road out there. That's one. That's a barrier fence. But there are many other kinds. But the fact of the matter is, they're required to have a permit, and they're required to provide protection for that runoff.
And I agree with you completely. If somebody is building a house or whatever they're building, if you look at what's happening on the 3-lane, 8 miles of barriers to keep the mud out of the various creeks. But this erosion that I'm talking about can go 2-3 miles up a creek, and it may not be caused by someone who is building. It just may be that creeks erode.
Not governed. That's a natural occurrence.
Okay, right? So that's fine. So I have one other question.
Sure.
Do you have a code or a rule on how close a house can be to the shoreline?
So we honestly don't. We kind of relate back to the town of Lake Santeetlah or Robbinsville's or Graham County's building codes for that. And so I think Graham County is 10 feet, or 10 feet, I believe, for a rear setback. So we don't, as long as it's not on our property. So that 1940.9 contour.
I'm sorry?
That 1940.9 contour.
Okay, thank you.
A lot of us out here are still waiting on our paperwork for dock permits. 4 years ago or so.
That's true. Yeah, the person sucks.
So just so you're aware. And if I'm not mistaken, in order to get a dock permit, there actually has to be a structure on the property.
That's the shoreline management plan states that you have to have a structure or something under a roof.
Under the roof. Okay, thank you.
Now, would that be a livable habitat or just a shed?
See, that's what's hard. It doesn't really specify. But I mean, in our mind, we would think they're livable habitat.
So what's happened to the 3-foot strip from the old administration that y'all conveyed to the town, where people that have their dock permits have to own that 3-foot strip from the contour to their property?
I'm not sure what you're talking about, like a property that Brookfield owns or that the town owns?
Brookfield deeded it to the town of
It
Santeetlah.
was the insurance company.
Oh, that was the insurance company, not Brookfield? Okay.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't aware of what you're talking about.
That
You
goes
can
back
ask the question a different
down to
way.
Malcolm.
Do you believe that an owner who wants to get a dock permit or renew it has to own all the land to the 1940, whatever it is, contour?
No, not necessarily. I mean, we'll issue an access permit through our property, we have no problem doing that. If it's our property separating our property from the lake, we have no problem with that.
It's your property.
Yeah, it's our property.
It was-
If it's the National Forest Service, they have recently determined that they are not going to issue any access permits anymore. So anyone who has a dock on here that they're crossing forest land, if that property's sold,
They lose the right.
they lose the right. It's gone. They're not going to renew it anymore.
Just a current question about the lake level. I know that they're down because they're doing some floodgate work. That's what I heard. Is that going to take some time? I mean, what do you know the schedule for when they're going to start bringing the lake back?
I don't. I could find it out, but I don't know it off the top of my head. I know every winter they draw the lake down.
Yeah, I mean, they used to take it way, way, way down. You know,
Looks like it's pretty high.
yeah, this is high for 5 decades, I guess, standards, but it seems like it's extra low, and I was.
Really?
I
Okay.
found it. Is that the Corps of Engineers that's pulling it down to do that, or is that just Brookfield?
No, that'd be
That would
Brookfield.
Brookfield?
Yeah.
You know, Brookfield owns the deal.
Do you have a website where we can locate when, a date that they're planning to lower and raise the lake? And is there a schedule? Is there a protocol you follow?
We
How
have
do we know?
safewaters.com has the current water levels. I don't know if it has a schedule listed on there. That's something I'd have to check with. I'm located in West Virginia, so I don't keep quite up on the schedule of where they're drawing the lake.
Safewaters.com.
Okay. Yep.
We had a complaint from several homeowners around that the lake was artificially high this past season,
I talked to
causing erosion,
Sure.
causing dock problems, causing issues, and I guess if we were to monitor your activities out there, how would we do that? How would we know what level the lake is at? What do they call it when it's full?
Full pool.
Full pool, right. That'll learn your terms. Full pool, okay.
So yeah, we had, I talked to a couple people this year, complaints during the summer about it being high. And so I relayed that to the operational manager here, and they went out and checked it, and it actually, it corresponded exactly to what was listed online on State Waters.
Are there independent people that can verify that? Because they got that same response, and they claimed, they took pictures of their dock, and they're going, this is not normal pool.
Yeah, no, I understand that, yeah, for sure. There's a roller on the side of the dam that they go out there.
Did they document that, photograph it?
I'm not sure. I can ask, but I'm not sure if they talk about it or not. But I had them go out and check.
We're gonna bear down on you, because we need to know that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that's fine.
To try to answer your question, a guy named Dick Eystone, who doesn't live here anymore, was the designee of the town to negotiate the FERC agreement.
Oh.
So all the cities and counties and everybody around here met for, a year or two to negotiate that agreement. And what was interesting about it was that it did say what the maximum drawdown in the winter was, because nobody wanted Fontana, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And I would suspect now, and I don't have a measurement, but with the beaches that I'm seeing, and the size of my pole sticking up out of my dock, it may be at that maximum drawdown, which I believe was 10 feet.
Okay.
But that needs to be checked. But what never was in there, and I asked Dick about this before he moved away, was if you had a maximum drawdown, why didn't you have a maximum raise? Because, you're exactly right. Wakes and everything else are doing damage.
Correct.
I don't think there's a number for the maximum raise. And then,
Top of the dam?
That
Still,
1940.9, it would be over
that's
top of
that's
it.
the top of the dam, he's exactly right.
Now, is that considered full pool? If we were gonna say full pool, so there's water actually draining out of the dam at that
It would
point?
be going over top of it.
Okay, so full pool, water over the top. Okay.
What's the
And
difference?
then one,
Well, over that point.
Yeah. One last comment. The other issue was, particularly in the bay on this side, we have, in the summertime, people coming through with jet skis and boats, and there's paddle boarders out there, and there's even swimmers and fishermen and stuff. And there's supposed to be a no wake zone in there. We were wondering, is the Brookfield folks responsible for putting buoys out there to say, no, we can't go racing through here? And who enforces that? I don't believe you enforce that.
That's North Carolina Wildlife.
North Carolina Wildlife.
Yeah, NCWRC.
And to answer that question, this is a recreational lake, and they do not allow no-wake zones.
That's true.
Except for
Period.
Marina.
They do or they do not?
They do not. Except the only one that can is Granville. That's it.
You go, yeah,
So you can go racing around down through there?
Yep.
pretty much.
All right, good news.
So I've had people call me about buoys that they pulled out of the lake that came up, or came dislodged, and I have to contact NCWRC about replacing those because they're in charge of them.
There was a resident that put them all over the lake years ago, nice expensive ones, and the patrol thanked him very much, and he picked them up and took them to other places.
That must have been an expensive lesson.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there used to be some out for skiers. They were in position for the slalom
Slalom course.
course. Yeah, that was decades
That
ago.
was a long time ago.
The sad part about the negotiation of the water, the lake levels is, this lake, like Fontana, used to go down quite a bit. And you will notice one thing about Fontana. When it comes back up, it's crystal clear, there's no leaves. They
It's
blow
washed
away,
away.
they blow away during the winter. This lake used to be crystal clear, it's now turning into Tennessee green. And there's about this much buildup on the bottom. The fish no longer bed in areas they used to. I wish, honestly, at least once every 3 years or so, they would drop it down where it could be cleaned. And every 10 years, we have, this community has, the county has, the opportunity to negotiate and readjust that PERC agreement. I brought it up at the first 10 year and it fell on deaf ears. But I hope as the lake gets greener and greener, we might consider it.
So we would go to Brookfield with those concerns?
No, it would go to PERC.
Well,
Okay.
let's keep in mind that Lake Santeetlah is a small lake, but it's a large area well beyond town of Lake Santeetlah. Little Santeetlah is just a little thumb that sticks out into a much vaster lake, and there's a lot of shoreline that Brookfield has to manage. And the permit process that happened, 10 or so years ago, that changed the pool range was, done through the Department of the Interior, I believe. I mean, when they permitted there was talk about emptying the lake and just going back to the natural stream. And of course, all the players came in to say, well, the kayakers, for example, they wanted to have they wanted to have release days so they could go and have their fun on Chihuahua River. But anyway, it's our concerns. I appreciate. I have 2 lakefront properties, but let's keep in mind that we need to work with Brookfield, and they are trying to manage a much bigger entity. We can't say, if you keep the lake up too high, which I know is kind of, people are saying they don't like, which I understand that, it can flood upstream. The water has to go somewhere. So I think a broader perspective needs to be kept in mind regarding lake levels.
We've got somebody else online. Initials SR, I don't know who you are, but you've got your hand raised. Would you like to make a comment?
It's Susan. I just wanted to ask the Brookfield representative, if we are able to observe damage to the shore, and we're incurring a good bit of money due to woody debris and things, would Brookfield consider, and this is a question for you and your manager, in their water management plan in the future to consider keeping the lake not at full pool? I understand that you have the right to be at full pool, and you were this summer, and we had a lot of problems as a result. Typically, it's been about a foot below full pool, and that's not caused problems. So would you take the observations and the problems we had this summer into consideration as you manage the water next year? And the other thing is to know that on holidays, we do have substantially more boat traffic, and these are wake boats. These, wake boats weren't so prevalent years ago. And you might want to consider also not being at full pool on holidays because you have a lot of erosion of the shore. Would you guys, can you answer me yes or no, if you would actually take that input into consideration in managing water levels next summer?
I can bring it to them, and we've talked about it. It was discussed last summer. The big concern last summer was they felt like it was kind of a dry summer. So if you draw down the lake too much, the recharge time is pretty substantial. So if we need that water to produce electricity, they were worried that we wouldn't be able to get back up to where we needed to be. But I'll bring it to them. I have no problem talking to them about it. It's kind of hard because where I'm coming from as a job and where the operational manager comes from as a job is two totally different things. So they're all about power generation.
Does Brookfield control when we take water out of this lake, or the TVA authority?
I mean, we work with TVA, so it goes back and forth.
But the control, as I understand it, of letting the water out or keeping it in is TVA's, because we are part of their system. So if it's raining like crazy here, and which it has been all day, I think we've had 3 or 4 inches of rain so far, then that water is controlled by TVA because they want to hold it here, depending on what's going on downstream. There's 20-some dams in TVA, and I understand that they're all controlled electronically in Knoxville. So that's an important thing that everybody needs to understand. TVA is a quasi-governmental agency who has many functions, but one of them is flood control and others recreation and so on and so forth. Brookfield is a for-profit company doing many billions of dollars worth of business a year. And that, fine, good, but at the end of the day, when they have a release of water, you know where the water goes, down the creek, or it goes to that giant pipe, that you see when you drive out to Topeka, and then to a penstock, it's called, which is a big tank on top of a mountain above Chiowa Dam. And then they release it down the hill and make power, and then it goes past Chiowa Dam, that water, and it's multi-use water. But, and this is an economic thing, they're in the business of using that water to make profit. And I'm not condemning them in any way, shape, or form. I think it's a great company, and they care about this stuff. But 3 or 4 years ago, when I checked into it, we had 2 guys, Brookfield employees, who lived in this county. And if you had a tree floating in that was a danger to navigation, you call them, and they'd go haul it away somewhere and tie it up wherever they were supposed to do that. That service isn't available anymore, to the best of my knowledge, because those guys are gone. I also think, from what I remember, that every time there was a release, if they dropped the lake down a foot, depending on the season of the year, that power goes into what's called the grid. And it's one big fungible mass of power coming from all these different sources. I think 1 foot of water back then was worth something like $100,000 in terms of power that they could sell into the grid. I can tell you now it's probably a lot more. And the interesting part of it all is that when you have a terrible winter in Bismarck, that affects the grid price. Or when you have superheat in the Southwest, that affects the grid price. So we have to understand that there's a balance between Brookfield's for-profit motive and their regulatory responsibilities. That's business, it is what it is. But TVA can't get a pass on this lake level thing, because I believe it is their decision, not Brookfield's, forgive me if I'm wrong, on whether or not to open the sluice
TVA.
and let the water out.
I think it's a joint thing, but I think it's probably more Brookfield than TVA. But TVA, if they need to release water, we have to work with them on that. But I mean, from here down, there's 3 Brookfield facilities.
See, when you say that, forgive me, it sounds like it's not exactly closure. Who is the ultimate decision maker on the lake level? Is it Brookfield Is it TVA? Is it a partnership? Does the state have any role in that? On a day like today, when you've got 3, 4, 5 inches of rain, is that ever happening? Who's deciding that the lake is too full or it needs to get fuller? Who makes that decision? Who presses the button that says open or close those gates? And I'm almost certain that that is TVA. Do they consult with you? Of course. But, so I think another meeting, it'd be good to have TVA here and ask them to explain all that stuff.
Get them on deck. I had a quick question. When did this transition occur where it was sort of arbitrary? You could call somebody to get the log out of the water? When did you guys take over? What year, 19?
I mean, we've had a land use specialist. We had a land use specialist that lived here that was working, and then just kind of migrated to my office in West Virginia.
So it still sounds kind of
So, I
arbitrary.
mean, you can still call me, and we've got crews at Chioma Dam.
Can you leave
And-
cards?
Oh, yeah, I've got plenty of cars to leave here. So you can still call me, and I can contact our crew here, and they'll come out and do it. So we've got a good crew working here.
Could that be in the minutes? Yes, you have a floating tree. Call him.
Yeah.
And his crew will come out and do it.
So just to answer my
Well,
question,
yeah.
when did Brookfield assume their position, their control? When did they take over?
25 years.
When did they?
When did they begin managing the water?
What year ago?
25 years, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's been a long time then. So what you're talking about when they hauled stuff away was years and years ago.
Well, we had two guys that did work, or lived here, and were very,
They came over from Alcoa,
Yeah.
when Brookfield purchased.
Okay. It just sounded kind of arbitrary, and I'm trying to just nail it down. you know.
no, we've got a crew here that I can call, and they can be here in 20 minutes.
Okay, so bottom line, from this point forward, don't dump leaves, don't dump trees, don't put stuff in the lake. Okay,
Correct.
all right.
Or talk to us first.
And that includes,
Something
I had a report from another trusted source that Duke Energy was dropping trees and things in the lake. Apparently didn't get permission, or they were supposed to have permission. And I'm not even sure how that all ended up, but I don't know whether large entities are,
I mean, it depends on if they own the lake or,
I mean, do they get a pass or what happens?
well, if they own the lake, then they can kind of,
No, Duke Energy is the power company that runs.
yeah, no, I know, but they own some of the lakes in the area.
Okay, well, they do own lakes.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, kind of like Brookfield. They have a lot of hydroelectric facilities.
You know, they don't, Duke doesn't own our lake, Santeetlah.
No, they don't own this, but I'm just saying, they do own some lakes, so if they do that, they can do that. So,
And they don't allow development.
Well, fascinating subject, we could keep you here all day, but for brevity, I think we need to move on.
well, I'll be here afterwards. I can
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And we have two people,
More questions?
Jack and Alan.
Oh,
Or public.
Public comment? Oh, wait.
I'm volunteered to manage public comments, and so I did a lot of research on what you can say and what you can't say. The research is, actually I went to American Civil Liberties Union, and it's protected by this document here, which is called the Constitution. And you can say anything you want about any subject you want, but you are encouraged to focus on issues that concern the community. So we have established a limit of 3 minutes. I'll manage that. I will keep the time. 10 seconds before your 3 minutes is up, you get a little chirp. After that, you might get a lot of it. So I don't know. 5 minutes? Okay, 5 minutes.
One topic?
Who's first? Go for it.
You got your list right there. Sorry, Jack.
Before Jack says one other comment, if you don't get a chance to speak or you're online, you can always email the town questions, problems, issues. Just put it in writing, send it off to the office. We can review that and it can be incorporated in the next meeting, or maybe we can
Correct.
answer your question. Is that correct? Is that accurate? Okay. So we have 2 ways to do
We
it.
have a lot of business to cover, and if it's 5 minutes per public comment, we're running.
Ready?
Okay.
Yep.
I'm ready.
Okay, it starts.
Okay, we're all talking about the rain today. This is over by my house. This is an ongoing issue. And it's not always during heavy rains. A lot of medium rains will do the same thing. This is one of my driveways. As you'll see, as the video goes on, it comes from up top. Today, the drain at the top by the mailboxes on Nantahala Trail was plugged up. So all the water went down the upper part of the Nantahala Trail. It didn't go down the Nantahala Terrace, which again causes this even worse. In the end, it flows down, and you can see it here running under the doctor's house. Ouch. Yeah, ouch. And it is a town responsibility. So since we just got the money from Golden Leaf, and I believe Golden Leaf might be able to assist a little bit more with drainage and stuff, I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the council that there are issues that do need to be addressed.
That's coming off of the highway
It's
above
no.
129?
One part of it's coming up from 129, there's one drain, but the rest is just coming down and collected, and when that top drain gets plugged, it forces it down the other way, and then when it gets to my yellow house down there, the town put in a culvert in an afterthought after they had the roads paved and stuff. They should have carried it down further, but anyways, so they put it right there and it drains right down my property. And Scott, I mean, I used to keep track of it, or take care of it and refill it and re-level it when I had my equipment up here. I don't have it now. And Scott, the last time, went over and did it by shovel. And that's not good. That's a lot of rock. So anyways, I just wanted to bring this to the town's attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
I'm signed up. This won't take long. I just want to, Alan Davidson. I want to remind the council and the town government pursuant 143-318.10, official meetings of public bodies open to the public. Every public body shall keep full and accurate minutes of all official meetings, including any closed sessions held pursuant to GS 143-318. That's just an important factor in properly managing and running a town government. There needs to be an accurate record of what is said and discussed and done within a public meeting of a representative body to a incorporated town, such as we are. And Councilman Predmore touched on it and pretty much said everything that needs to be said, but North Carolina 160A-81.1 public comment period during regular meetings. Council shall provide at least one period of public comment per month at a regular meeting of the council. And it goes into, this is in the Constitution, the state Constitution. And it just goes into, there's a suggestion that it involve town business. I mean, somebody could come in here and talk about, their cats or something, but that's not necessarily town business. But it's not required. I guess somebody could come in here and talk about their cats. There's no law against that. But the suggestion is keep it to town business. But it's broad. I mean, town business, there's a lot of town business, just like, Jack just mentioned, drainage. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. So hopefully I got plenty of time. That only took like a minute, right?
How about?
Anybody
Thank you,
online?
Who?
Anybody online have a comment? Roger, you want to make one?
Yeah.
It was a little late.
Can I ask? Or you can go first? Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead. I just had a brief question.
Bow to your.
Well, I had a question. Sometimes like for instance, in Mr. Gross's situation, the drains are clogged because the maintenance guys haven't come through and cleaned up the leaves, and of course the water washes them down to the nearest receptacle or wherever they're going to go through. And when it's clogged, it just flows all over the place. So I'm wondering whether as a council we need to kind of direct our maintenance people to maybe get in there sooner after all these leaves have fallen. Of course, many of them are down now, but maybe before Christmas would be a better time to get it kind of cleaned up and stuff. And we've talked about it. We've all been aware of the leaves, so I think that could be a future issue. I don't want to take up too much time on it, but just comment on it. So,
I took pictures today
Okay.
going around.
Thank you.
I did not get down in front of your house, so I did not
supplied-
see that.
Actually,
But we had a lot of drainage problems. It looks like you had cleared some mud as well, but all the leaves that they were blowing yesterday,
Back in the road.
they were back in the road and clogging a lot of the drains. So
Do
we
they actually-
will address this.
Do they remove the leaves or they just redistribute them? No,
Yeah.
They're supposed to
And I
remove
believe the
them.
contract is to remove, correct?
It is.
As many as we can. Yeah.
I will be leaving my USB recording with the town staff in case you do go further with Golden Leaf.
All right, great.
And pictures are worth 1,000 words to Golden Leaf.
Yeah, thank you for providing that. We appreciate that.
Okay.
First, Keith, let me congratulate you on becoming a liberal and checking with the ACLU.
What? What?
Let me congratulate you on becoming a liberal and checking with the ACLU.
Yes.
Hopefully that doesn't count as much.
Hey. It's all open.
It's a big step for him.
The auditor's report was terrific. I mean, you have clean audit now running a couple of years and at a difficult time. But if I heard the numbers right, it seemed like the general fund end-of-year balance unencumbered was over $400,000. Is that correct?
I think that was the number she said. There, if you want to get a copy of the audit, I'll give it to you.
No, it's okay, but that's what I remember. It was somewhere over $400,000. Well, there's some reasons for that, one of which was the mass reassessment, which raised up the valuation of this community by more than 50%. And the millage was not reduced proportionally to not take advantage of that. So you end up with a lot more money coming in than the previous year in the general fund from taxes. That's okay. You know, it's a decision that you all make. Second part of it was that expenses that were approved by the previous commission, not the one just ended, but the one before, weren't being spent anymore. There was no water quality checking, there was no kudzu program, you know, I could go down the list, but I won't. And when you're not doing those things, you're obviously spending less. I'm not so sure that's good government, but that's something for you all to decide going forward. So what I would hope you do is what was done 3 or 4 years ago, where you convene some meetings and see what the people of this community want done. You know, it's not a big deal. It can be a couple-hour meeting. It doesn't have to be on a weekend or whatever however you want to do it. But let the people of this town help you build the budget. And this would be the time to get started on that. Because at the end of the day, Kim, I think you really need to be done with your budget in May, the latest. And, you know, January's half gone already. So that's a lot of work. But there was some good input. You know, sometimes you throw out the ideas, sometimes they throw out the ideas. Then you take another few weeks and cost these things out, and you make your minds up what you want, what you don't want. But 10 years ago, maybe 15, this town had built up a surplus, unencumbered, of almost $700,000. And there were a number of people in town who said, well, wait a minute, why are we being taxed to have that kind of surplus? And that's where the park came from. The Lanier Park. It was paid for out of that surplus. You know, okay, good, nice park. That's where the decision was made over those years by the 2 or 3 councils not to raise the millage. And all of a sudden, after 6 years of not raising the millage, that money was gone. Okay, that is not good public policy either. So what's the best thing to do? Start now, see what you want the programs to be based on the citizen involvement, see if you have enough money in the bank or the millage is adequate, and then you'll have a budget that I think everybody can buy into. A lot of the fear-mongering that's going on, and you see emails and texts and secret societies and all kinds of things sending out emails, is threatening litigation. Okay? If you do anything, you're going to be sued. Well, that's the case, that you need a budget for it. Maybe there are good things that need to be done, and maybe there needs to be litigation. But at the end of the day, don't succumb to those threats. Do what you think is right. And budget the money, and spend the money, and then if there's litigation, let everybody know who filed it, or who instigated it. And good luck. Jesus.
Thank you, Roger.
We're trying to avoid litigation.
Are we only allowed one topic?
Yes,
Okay, because
that is in the policy.
some of the information that you put out needs to be corrected.
What was that question?
He wants to
We
know
only
if you
allow one
covered
topic.
my comment.
You got, no, you're allowed a number of minutes, cram as many as you want in there.
Oh, okay, then I can get up and speak
But there's
again?
only
No,
one
you got-
public comment.
Your time.
But you can email and let us know what your comment.
And you can call me anytime. I have an email as well.
Yeah. We don't want to shut down conversations. Yeah.
Well, let's get to our business and that it is
I have one
almost
question.
1 o'clock.
I have one question. May I?
Yes,
Has anybody heard from any of our public comment, anybody on the council, any of us four, heard about these issues from the time that the agenda was published to the public comment time today? Did anybody hear from any of these people?
No?
Thank you.
I've heard, well, not from these people,
No.
I've heard from Bill Peel.
Okay. Thank you.
If anybody wants to email me, my address in the directory has been wrong for 2 years, and I've tried to get it corrected. But it's not Yahoo, it's gmail.com.
Correction, okay.
Or just send any comments to
To
the
the town.
office, and the office sends everything out to the 5 of us.
We need public input. We're not trying to shut it down. We really invite comments from our constituents. So, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
let's go.
Old business, Allen Stahl Kilburn contract was terminated as of December 31st, 2023.
Okay.
Number 2, legal counsel Craig Justice of Van Winkle Law Firm was hired and beginning January 1st, 2024. So we've had a very short time for working with our new counsel. Number 3, the town truck was delivered on December 15th, 2023. The town council had the funds to pay for the truck. We actually got a trade-in on the old truck of $17,500, and that included the gear, the snow plow and salt equipment. So our new truck is bright and shiny. It's downstairs. It is a 2024 Ford F350. And it will soon have its snow plow and salting. We're hoping for no snow until we get our equipment on the truck. So we did not have to take out any kind of loans for the truck. And this was, we did have an escrow account, et cetera, that had been saving the money for the truck expenses, and those accounts have been closed now. The update on the internet, we originally wanted to get some information from Roger Carlton. We have some other issues with our committee that we would like to address, and so I'd like to postpone the internet update, but we've actually had some other people that Roger's talked with, so he's already rocking and rolling. So we'll put this off until the February meeting. New business. We would like to, as the council, request the TOLS Planning Board to meet and review the land plan and zoning ordinance for recommendations of changes, and to report back to the town council. And this requires action by our council. So do we have...
We need to make a motion?
Do we have a motion to request a meeting of the TOLS Planning Board to review?
I'd like to request that.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have a discussion? I personally would like any people that have been active in the ordinance repeal, etc., to please identify within the ordinance, which is on the website that can be downloaded, directly what points they'd like to make changes, amendments to, perhaps a page number, so that the planning board will have that information to look at directly. So do we, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Public comment policy changes. I thought we had that public comment attached. Did you have a copy of any public comment?
No.
Oops. Oh, here we go.
Oh, sorry about that.
Well, I guess could read that.
Want me to read it?
Sure.
Does this have to do with the 3-minute rule type stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Public comment policy is adopted pursuant to NC General Statutes 168-81.1. I'm getting used to doing this. And is intended to be fully compliant with that statute. The policy governs public comment at a regular meeting of the town council. One public comment period allowed for public comment per month at a regular meeting of the town council. You get to do it one time. Each speaker shall have 3 minutes in which to provide public comment. All public comments shall be directed to the council and be in conformance with the order and decorum of the meeting. And it would be approved 9 January 2024. Motion to approve it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that one too.
Do we have a discussion?
Yes. I think having one session at the beginning is not necessarily the right thing to do, because the people are here, or we now have a larger audience on Zoom. If they want to make a comment about something that happened at this meeting, they have to wait a month to do so. And some of them may not be available a month later to make that comment, so they make it 2 months later. And then you have a different mix of people coming in and going out, so.
Where do we move it to the end of the meeting?
No.
Well, the
Yeah.
previous policy had it for only one period, and somewhere along the line, all of a sudden it became 2 periods. So that is where we ended up with 2-hour meetings, in that we had loads of people be making comments at the beginning of the meeting and at the end of the meeting. And I'm really trying to keep our meetings to 1 hour. That's not happening today, in that we had our guest speakers, and we still have another guest speaker. So that is why I said for 3 minutes, but if we want to adjust that to 2 to 5 minutes, or...
I think Ralph's point was, at the beginning of the meeting, my comment would be, the agenda is published. It's for public to see, and usually those issues come from the agenda. And as we've said from meeting number 1, we got personal emails, we got personal phone calls. Anybody is willing and able who is willing, is able to reach out to one of us, or all of us independently, and say, look, I don't like what you're going to do at the next meeting. Will you be my champion for that? It hasn't happened. So what happens is when we have public comment at the beginning of the meeting, it's a surprise.
Yeah.
So how about if we move it to the end of the meeting, and even those who don't reach out to get a champion on the council can say what they want about what we talked about during the meeting.
That's fine with me.
Would that be okay? And I don't think that has
I was
anything.
thinking it's kind of nice to have it twice, but for brevity and conciseness, that would be very difficult. I really like public input, but you're correct. Everyone has the opportunity to write or put, and it's better if you do it in writing because then we have it. But I know a lot of people aren't writers, so to be able to stand up and say something is important. So, but do we have? I don't know if we have a consensus on the council to one or the other.
Let's move it to the end. I mean, that when we have it is not part of this. But
And then the other
No,
thing is,
it doesn't change.
sometimes people want to come in a meeting, say their comment, and then leave. Not everybody wants to sit through an hour or 2 hour meeting. So that was the only other concern I had. So.
okay, so that's an administrative call that we need to make, but this issue, I think we need to resolve.
Do we need to make that
We
decision
have,
today, or should we sit on it and talk about it next
let's
week?
sit on it and talk about it and see if anybody has any
We might need some
input.
more input.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a motion to approve this one,
Okay.
and discussion is over, I think.
So, all in favor?
In favor of this?
Yes,
Yeah, the current 3 minute.
yes.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I'll abstain.
Yes,
Okay.
you can't do that.
Why not?
An abstention is a vote yes in Carolina
Is
law.
that right? All right, I'll vote no then.
Okay, so
We're still learning.
That's four. Okay,
I
we'll
don't think we
decide
did- I don't know if we
as to
did.
whether we put it at the beginning or the
The end.
ending. Make that decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need more discussion.
My report of the Tourism Development Authority, I just wanted to say that the balance of the Tourism Development Authority right now is $4,533.38.
Diana, before you move on, so the policy doesn't say before or after?
No, it doesn't.
No,
no, it does not.
So you want to just,
it's currently before though, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you're going to decide?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so leave it as is and
Yeah.
not have it
For now.
specified?
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll get
Just
it
put it as an administrative call.
We'll get it
Okay.
announced.
gotcha.
Okay. We had a October ad of the, in Our State magazine, that was a 1/3 page ad. That has been paid for. We have a February Our State ad, that's a 1/6 page ad, and that's $1,865. So that will knock our balance down to $2,668.38. There is a savings of $3,000 right now as well. I have a June ad contracted with Our State magazine, but we may have to put that on hold in that we have expenses end of year, fiscal year budget of $1,800 for insurance and $600 for the next fiscal year or this fiscal year audit. So that's where we stand on the TDA budget right now.
And just for clarity, I have it under good advice, that with TDA, 2/3 of that money must be spent on advertising and
And
promoting
promotion.
our community. So I don't know if you were all aware of that. The other third is flexible. for such things
There's
as
administration, insurance, et cetera.
and whatever's left over, we can use to put flowers up front with. Or
We
whatever.
have in the past had the capital program where we did the renovation on the front entrance, which we did the hardscaping of the circle lighting. We also ended up covering the expense of the landscaping and additional rocks and the pavers in front of the bulletin boards. So TDA also spent monies for Adirondack chairs at the Manure Park. So for right now, we really don't have too much that we can spend.
So the idea is to develop the community, and advertising helps us as homeowners. I just want to point this out. It makes your properties more desirable as we advertise to people that this is a great community to live in and live, play, and recreate. And hopefully, benefits our town. So.
Well, I believe that it does benefit our town directly for the other homeowners besides the rental owners, in that having a beautiful town is also good for our property values. Having that new entrance, that was a big improvement. And just driving around, the city looks, our town looks great. So, also, we really haven't had that much of an increase of rentals. It's been pretty much a flux of 28 houses, give or take. Some people sell their houses, some people buy houses. So the numbers of rental houses has not increased, but probably because of our advertising, we are seeing more people coming here, especially during COVID with lockdown. People were coming to the lake. The trends right now are going to the coast. So rentals of mountain properties have decreased as people are now going to the coast or flying to Europe or wherever they are. But more people are aware of the lake because of our advertising. And you see us on Sunday morning for our state magazine. Has been good. Okay, so we have Craig Justice here.
Yep, he's here.
Okay, we were going to have Craig Justice discuss the resolution establishing, reestablishing, or ratifying the creation of Lake Santeetlah Tourism Development Authority.
Does anybody want a copy?
I've got one. Yeah, I've got one. Anybody need one out there?
Anyone else?
Ruby, you want
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Here, let's. What's that? That was on. Ruby found this place because we have all these ads in North Carolina magazine,
You should
right?
have copies.
Sure.
We just got this yesterday. But we've been working on this.
You need one, Keith? I thought I gave you one.
Thank you.
You want one?
You got it, you know of it?
Got it.
A ton of.
Okay. Craig, would you like to explain what
He's not gonna be
we
able to do that.
are doing?
Well, good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'm excited to jump back on the wagon. I look forward to continuing to provide counsel to you. I appreciate hitting the ground running with a fun issue right out of the gate. So thanks. In preparation to this meeting, I had reviewed some minutes of town council meetings and actions that the taken back in 2022, and there was a question that came up regarding whether or not the TDA had been properly formed. There was a resolution adopted, as I said, in 2022 by a vote of 3-2 that would suggest that the majority had determined that a step may have not been followed. According to the local bill that was adopted in 2015, giving this town authority to create a TDA. And when I went back and looked at everything, although things could, that T could have been sharper in terms of being crossed, my opinion was that I believe that the prior council had taken steps to form the TDA. And so I thought the resolution may have overstated the point. But out of abundance of caution, moving forward, since the previous council had reduced the occupancy tax to 0 and stopped collection, this council may be inclined to reinstate the occupancy tax, and just to, as moving forward, we certainly wanted to clarify and ratify the proper existence, the validity of the TDA. And so this resolution speaks for itself in terms of sort of tracking the history, dealing with the TDA and its organization and formation, and laying out reasons for its adoption. And essentially what it does in a nutshell is it ratifies the valid existence of the TDA. It makes that the resolution effective as of September of 2017, when the TDA was originally established. It also repeals the previous resolution that, as I said, I think overstates and is not a correct recitation of things. Of course, resolution also reduced the occupancy tax down to 0, and I believe the council will be moving forward on considering reinstating that. So it essentially does two things. It ratifies the existence of the TDA as well as repeal the resolution from 2022. And I think that my advice is to, for purposes of reinstating the occupancy tax, although the council in 2017, I believe, had adopted an ordinance that was sort of a continuing thing, that every year there would be occupancy tax. The resolution that was adopted in 2022 reduced the amount of money down to 0. And so it's created some confusion of whether or not we need to do another a public hearing. Because typically when you establish an occupancy tax, you do a public hearing. And so my recommendation would be, if you entertain an occupancy tax reinstatement, that you call for a public hearing. We adopt a resolution setting out the occupancy tax, as well as reestablish, if you will, that ordinance that allowed the occupancy tax to renew every year without having to do a public hearing. So that's my recommendation, is if you want to do an occupancy tax, you go ahead and call a public hearing for the purpose of that. But for today is just the resolution that's before you to affirm the valid existence of the TDA.
So we should take action on this resolution and hold off on the tax resolution.
Yes.
Hold a public hearing, notice the public hearing.
Yes.
And then we have the public can have their input. Correct?
And this the resolutions do not require a public hearing. Resolutions do not generally. The statute does say whenever you have an occupancy tax sort of created, that you should have a public hearing, so it's a little bit of an exception to the rule. But for purposes of this resolution that's affirming the existence of the TDA, there's no requirement of a public hearing or public comment.
I would like to make a motion that we do adopt the resolution establishing, reestablishing, or ratifying the creation of the Lake Santeetlah Tourism Development Authority.
Second.
Oh, that I was saying.
No.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
You did make a motion.
Oh,
What did you
well, I
just
said I would
do?
like.
She's inviting someone to make that motion. Go ahead.
I make the motion that we accept the resolution.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Huh? You
And
second.
just for ticklish purposes, I assume, Keith, you mean to adopt the resolution?
Yes.
To adopt the resolution.
Yes, to adopt this resolution.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Better language, yep.
Okay.
And then we will, just for clarification,
Discussion.
discuss the percentage rate next meeting.
Yes.
At the next
The idea. That way we invite public input.
Correct.
Okay.
Does the word decretals,
Uh,
what does the word mean? Throw me out. What does the word decretals mean in the last paragraph?
What, we
Don't you want to know?
don't have to,
You don't have to.
what's
What does that word
What's
mean?
the word, what?
It's a new word.
Decretal?
Decretals, the decretals are the, now therefore, it's the action being taken.
Clarification.
is that good enough for you?
Oh, okay.
No,
That mentioned
Being
decretals.
decreed.
Okay.
It's just being decreed.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
All right, a vote. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Unanimous.
Then do you want to go ahead and set the date for the public hearing?
Oh,
Discuss
who's
one.
got,
Could we do it during the meeting next in February?
setting the public hearing?
Before then.
Could we do it during the public
We
hearing?
can
Oh. Can
set
you
a
do-
public hearing as a
At the same
separate
time?
meeting.
Okay.
We'll run a longer meeting in that case.
Off to a great start.
Or do we want to set a separate meeting
Let's
date?
do it all at once.
I think,
Okay.
yeah, it's easier at one time.
All right,
Okay, so the meeting starts at 12. Y'all want to do the public hearing
First.
first? Okay. So
okay.
we'll start the meeting, and then we'll do the
Then-
public
Because
hearing.
then you can still get public input first too, right?
Mhm. It'll be all public input.
Okay. All right.
So, all right,
Is that good with you, Craig? So the public hearing and the meeting would be on February the
13th?
13th?
Yeah,
You good with that?
yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
That's my birthday, so we'll have a lot of fun.
Kim will bring a cake for you, buddy.
Yeah, if you come, I'll bring you a cake.
Thank you.
You got a preference?
Chocolate or.
Chocolate?
Strawberry one.
Strawberry, okay.
Or somebody, yeah.
Bittersweet chocolate.
All right, so we are tabling the resolution to change Tourism Development Authority occupancy tax. And we are also tabling the appointment of new TDA board members. So finally, we come to.
Did I hear, I'm sorry to interject, did I hear a motion to call the public hearing?
Oh.
It may not necessarily be required, it usually is a good form to do
Okay.
that.
Right.
Because you're asking to spend money on advertising and all that jazz.
Do I have a motion to call a public hearing discussing Tourism Development Authority tax?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That will be on February 13th, 2024. All right, meet our neighbor. This is something we'd like to start having at some of our meetings, is we have a lot of interesting neighbors. So we're starting
Does he get to take the podium, or can he?
He can take you, he can do anything he wants. Where's the best place?
So we have Glenn Barnett is going to report on his missionary work. And
Local citizen. How long have you lived here?
yeah,
I'll just say it.
Okay.
he's the most world traveled.
Maybe not. Yeah, so I'm Glenn Barnett. My wife Amy and I live here in Santeetlah with our 4 kids, or have had them with us at some point in our time here. We moved to Robbinsville in 2017 from South Africa. We lived there for 13 years working with AIDS orphans and in community development work. Wasn't exactly a planned move. We were unable to get our visas renewed and had to leave the country. So when we moved here, we actually moved out to the Master's Mission. If any of you are familiar with that, it's a training center about 40 minutes out of town up on the mountain. Beautiful place to live, but pretty impractical when you got 4 kids in school in town. It was 20 minutes just to get to the bus stop down a mountain dirt road that was pretty treacherous in the wintertime. So after one winter of doing that, my wife said no more, and so we started looking around and found a nice little place here in Santeetlah. So we're probably one of the few houses in Santeetlah that actually doesn't see the lake. We're on Wachacha Trail, which is tucked in from the lakeside, and we're kind of in the middle of the mountain. So that's where we are. Our 4 kids all graduated from Robbinsville High School. We have twin boys that are now 23. They both just graduated from UNC Chapel Hill. One is back with us. He's the marketing manager at Topeka Lodge now. And our youngest daughter is attending Southwestern Community College, so she's still with us. Our middle daughter is 21, and she's at Coastal Carolina studying to become a dental hygienist. And our other twin son has remained behind in Chapel Hill. He left it there, so he's still there. And now that all the kids are done school, my wife has gone back to working. She's a grade 3 teacher at Robbinsville Elementary School now. And I work for faith-based nonprofit organization called the Centurion Project. We work with military personnel and veterans. So I know we have some veterans in here. Thank you for your service. And I know we have parents of veterans in here as well. So grateful for all you guys do and have done serving our country. I'm the only one in our organization that is not a veteran. So it's a humble privilege for me to serve those who have served us and our country. Kind of in the big picture, we're a small organization. We're focused around the Fort Liberty area, formerly known as Fort Bragg. In the big picture, we work networking churches to try and minister to military families. My role, more specifically, we work with veterans and military struggling with PTSD. So as we'd like to say, we come alongside those that have served and are struggling, and we educate those who have not. So along with working with them, we also do trainings in helping others to better understand how to help those that are struggling with PTSD, as well as in suicide prevention. We have recently brought in another organization called the Warrior 180 Foundation, which is focused specifically on the suicide prevention aspect. So kind of what we do, we take those that are struggling with PTSD. The science behind it is really fascinating. I could talk for a long time, but what they've discovered is that if you take and we put them in similar environments to where they experience the PTSD, so hot, dry, dusty, dirty, abject poverty places, so we go to third world countries and replace those negative memories with positive ones. So we do work projects in third world countries doing something for other people. So we often go down to Dominican Republic and we build homes for homeless families. And so that's kind of in a nutshell what we do. And yeah, it's
Good therapy.
yeah.
What took you to Bolivia? Is that
So that's another
why-
sort of aspect. Yeah, I was in Bolivia in September. So twice a year, we take pastors and military people down and go down to Bolivia and they do training for pastors down there. Week-long, intense, they call it seminary in a suitcase, and train pastors. But in the process of going to Bolivia down there, they came across a guy that was working in one of the poverty-stricken neighborhoods with kids that have nothing, and he was just, they're doing classes for them, providing skills training, so that they hopefully have a better future and teach them skills so that they can get jobs. And since we were involved in a lot of that kind of work in South Africa, they asked me to come along and kind of consult and try and help develop that so that that project can grow. So, yeah.
Super.
That is amazing. Especially know that about you.
Yeah.
Never knew. See,
Yeah,
you ride your
we kind of-
bicycle.
So we moved in 2019, but the first 6 months we were here, my wife wasn't here. She was in Arizona caring for her father who was dying. So we didn't really get to know anybody then, and then of course COVID hit. So like everybody, so we were here several years before we even met anybody in the town really, other than town council meetings. And yeah, and then I was asked to serve on the planning board as well, so I do that. So.
Well, we're calling you up.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I want to talk to you.
Yeah, and we do live here full time, so yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Good.
Thank you so much.
So glad you're here. I moved in 2019, took me 3 years to figure out what was going on. COVID kind of locked everybody down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're probably one of the most social people.
Just a social butterfly.
As well as our, I don't know, the welcome committee for TPOA.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's keep this real quick. But for the spay and neutering of stray mountain cats, this is supported by Logan's Run and Tri-State Clinic and Town of Lake Santeetlah homeowners. It kind of started out that Joe found a kitten under the Yarberry's house. So we brought that stray and got it used to people, got it socialized. And then Fred Everett, I guess discovered that this cat he had been feeding had the kittens. And she had 2 more kittens down at Danny Green's house. She moved kittens. And so Joe started trapping kittens, and actually we started with 1 at a time, and would take them down to the Tri-State Clinic, where they gave them all their kitten shots, and they fostered the kittens and found homes for them. Both the kittens that we took down there found homes within a day or 2. So that was great. Fred decided he's keeping the 1 little kitten, which had a hurt, missing leg. It only had 3 legs, and it was the runt. And also the mother cat is the white cat with no tail. So he had been feeding them, and he's kept them, and he's taken the mother cat in to be spayed, and he's keeping that kitten. And then we had some other, we had someone dropped off a plastic bin of kittens at the front entrance, and this was just at Thanksgiving.
Really? Wow.
And Fred found them, he brought them back in his Suburban, and he calls up and is like, I can't handle these kittens. So Joe and I went and got the kittens, and we had this litter in our guest bedroom. And that was an experience. So anyway, this was over the holidays, so we couldn't get in to see Tri-State. And finally, we did get down there. We made an appointment to take the kittens in for their kitten shots. Well, it turned out there was somebody there waiting to adopt 2 of the kittens. So Joe and I kept one kitten, and 2 of them got adopted. And then, was that Christmas?
Yeah, that was a Christmas, and then we got the other.
Well, we got,
other cat
Joe
from
was
the
trying
block
to
house,
catch that tomcat who's been the father of all these
He's
kittens.
been promiscuous.
Yeah, and in fact,
Still working on
caught
him.
another cat. So we were keeping that cat in the guest room over the holiday, and then got it down, an appointment to get her spayed and take her into town, down to Murphy, and they're going, oh, her ear's clipped, she's already been spayed. So
Then we had the one other one that
Yeah.
we did have spayed and released.
Yeah,
And
so-
the reason this is a problem is because these things multiply, and I think the previous council had brought up the fact that in some cases they take the birds and the squirrels and other things.
Connie
around.
Gross had mentioned something at TPOA meeting.
Yeah.
We can't do anything about the birds and such, but I think we
A lot of
can
folks are feeding
do
them.
something about all these new kittens
Yeah.
and other cats. So we've caught another black
In
cat,
total, we've
got
got
its
8 cats
spayed.
out of circulation.
So the reason we're neutering them is because they still eat mice and do good things.
No, we're neutering them so they don't have more kittens.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, they don't reproduce, but they're alive and we're
Yeah.
around the
Well,
community.
we've got a
and
few
doing
that
a
have
service
blocks
by-
out.
Yeah, we're
Mice.
feeding.
And we're feeding them at the
Cats.
blocks, and
And
Fred's feeding them, and the
Audie
Hazers
is
are feeding
feeding
them.
cats.
And Audie, so a lot of folks are.
Jack, I've seen a
benevolent.
cat
We
over
need to
by the
move.
yellow house. Is that a pet or is that a stray?
No, that's true.
So it probably needs to be caught as well,
We don't
so.
have any dog issues, right? Right now?
Not
Okay.
that I know of. Anyway, some folks have supported this. Myra has put money towards Spain. Becky Blocks put a few $100s. Joe and I have spent monies on all the shots and et cetera. Fred as well. So if anybody'd like to sponsor any of the cats, we'd be happy to take. It's about $100 a cat. Is what
I
it
think,
costs. Yes.
I think that the Grand Star needs to know we have cats bill.
Can I just, like, leave a check with Kim to put towards some of these expenses? that she
Oh,
has?
that'd be
I mean,
great.
just.
Yeah, the one
I gotta pay
that,
my water bill anyway, so. I just
the
bought 2
Myra
checks.
sponsored cat, that's the one that was already
Oh,
fixed,
you
so.
heard, yeah.
I can't take any cats in because I have 5 dogs.
Maxine?
So I might, if you want to get rid of some cats, I'll introduce them to my dogs. But I
I was
can't.
going to say that my son would be upset if I didn't volunteer to have put the cats. Because,
We'll keep trying to catch
Oh,
them.
is he staying up on the mountain?
oh
or-
no, but I mean,
Okay.
the Young Williams Animal Center in Knoxville, Tennessee, he's the Williams of that center
Oh,
to
okay.
rescue animals.
He's a
And-
rescuer. Yeah.
And so they built, I think it's about 45,000 square feet, and then they have a second building on Kingston Pike.
Wow.
So that being said, I'll help, and my sister Ann will probably help too.
Okay, well,
Sweet.
when they don't have availability of a foster, Joe and I have ended up being the fosters, and
Well, I'd
he
rather
was a foster.
I'd rather help financially than take away, because I just don't have, I
The
just-
stray cats, they will not find
Resocialize,
homes.
yeah.
So it's pretty much.
Well, they've got the
Entire
Sparrow
town needs to
Cat
step
thing
up
going,
and
a
adopt
program
it.
in Knoxville right now that my son's involved with, you know, the wild
He's taking
cats and.
stray cats?
Well, I mean, that's a place up in woody area there.
Oh.
There's hundreds of them.
Okay.
Ruby, take one.
Well, we had noticed
Well,
down
we
in
do.
Andrews
There's
that
a lot of
their
times shelter can't
gazebo,
take
there
advantage
was a
of
whole
the
bunch
full,
of
so
crazy
I'll reach
cats.
out.
So anyway, that's my report
That's okay.
there.
People know that they can bring their kitties and drop them off at the front now.
That's against the law.
That was so sad, because.
Yeah, we do have an ordinance against that.
Yeah, there is
No,
no
no,
ordinance in
not
the state.
yeah, or at the dump sites, right? No.
Okay. Our announcements, our next regular scheduled council meeting will be February 13th, 2024 at 12 p.m. We will have a public hearing prior to our regular scheduled meeting. We will close the public hearing and open a town council meeting at that time, so.
It'd be wonderful. A pre-Valentine meeting, bring your sweetie and have fun.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
There we go.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So,
All in favor?
All right, you're out of here.
Thank you.